Welcome to YOUCANIC. In this video we're going to go over the steps on how to do an oil change on a Mercedes with an M278 engine. So this is the engine that's found on a lot of GLs, GLSs, S-classes, CLSs, and a lot of those that say either 450 or 550, the twin turbo. This is the engine, and the procedure is going to be very similar. The only thing that it's going to be different is underneath the vehicle you have that splash shield. That's going to be a different design, but even that, it's just held up with 8mm screws. What you want to do is you want to start here at the top of the engine. Once you open the hood, come here. We're going to start by replacing this oil filter, and the oil filter it's right under. There's a cover right here similar to that there. It just pops right up. It's missing in this vehicle. That pops right off. You put that to the side, then you have the oil filter here like that, and then you just remove it counterclockwise. You can see that was pretty loose right there. Now you're going to be careful here because it's going to have oil spill from that filter, so have something right next to it, and then just raise it carefully and put it over somewhere where you can work. So we have the filter. The way that this filter comes off, it's like that. Then you have this O-ring right here that needs to come off as well. So get a screwdriver under there, and that just broke off. But you take the new oil filter, press that in, and make sure it's pushed in all the way. Okay, and then take the O-ring, put it over. So you need to torque that to 25 Newton meters. So here we are under the vehicle, and the next step is to drain the oil. Now you're gonna have a splash shield run underneath here. It's gonna be held in place with several 8mm screws that go right there. So you would remove all those screws and pull that shield off. In this case it's missing, but you can see it goes right directly under the engine. That panel, that plastic panel that goes down here. Once you get that off, then you need to locate the drain bolt. Here you can see these mounts here for the front transfer case right there, and then back here we have the oil pan, engine oil pan. Transmission oil pan is all the way to the back, so there's not anything else that you can really confuse that with. So then we'll go ahead and remove this 13mm bolt. The one thing to keep in mind is that make sure you're going in the right direction. When you loosen this up, we're going to be pushing that way. A lot of times, since we're upside down, you can get confused which way you need to turn the bolt. So you don't want to go up, but you want to go this way. But once you get the bolt loose, you can take it off by hand. You just got to be careful that in the end it's going to shoot oil all the way out here. So have the pan a little bit to the front, just to account for that oil that's going to just come shooting out. Right. So that's going to take a little bit of time to drain. One thing to keep in mind is that this vehicle holds about 9 quarts or about 9 liters. So you want to have a big enough drain pan. A lot of the drain pans are about 5 quarts. So you might, if you got small drain pan, you're going to have to put this bolt back in, get the oil out, and then re-drain it. Otherwise, your drain pan is gonna overfill and you're gonna spill oil everywhere. So keep that in mind. Get a big enough oil pan so that it doesn't overflow. So it's gonna take a little bit. It's gonna take about 15 minutes or so for this to completely drain. You wanna just get every bit of it out. And this is one of the reasons why we prefer to drain it instead of using I just cut this. What I'm saying right here. All right, so you want to let that drain for at least 15 minutes. The longer you let it, the better it is, so everything gets out. And then we, before reinstalling the drain plug, what you want to do is you want to replace this copper washer. You can see that washer right there. We just replace that. We put a new one. Your filter will probably come with one. If the filter doesn't have it, of course you can buy these washers. If you really have no options but to reuse the old one, the old copper washers, it's recommended to replace them, but you might be able to get away with reusing that once. The worst thing that you could do though is reinstall this without a copper washer, because usually you end up with a leak if you do that. But if you reuse the old one, you just want to re-inspect it after you add the oil, just to make sure you don't have any leaks. Based on experience, usually if you just reuse that copper washer maybe once, you should be all right. But ideally, and the recommended procedure is to replace that washer every time you change the oil. Then you want to torque these to spec, and just look at a step-by-step guide for the recommended torque specs on that. And then you go ahead and reinstall the splash shield or the panel down here under the engine, and then we'll go up on top and add engine oil. So the next step is to add engine oil, and right here is the oil cap. You need to remove this by turning it counterclockwise. So you turn this way, you just remove that and put it to the side. Then take your funnel, put that right there. Okay. Then take the engine oil. This engine is recommended to use 0W40 engine oil. We're gonna have this specifications that it's gotta meet, so we're gonna have that in our tutorial. Just look for that. Yeah, this engine does take about 9 quarts. So what I would recommend doing is start by adding about 8 quarts first, and then check the engine oil level. If it needs more, you're more likely gonna need to add maybe another half a quart. You might need to still add a full 1 quart, but you just don't want to overfill it. It's harder to remove oil than it is to just keep adding a little by little and then rechecking the oil level. So here I'm just going to add the engine oil, and if you turn the container horizontally this way, it's a lot easier to pour it in. You want to go slow there. You don't want to overfill, and you don't want this oil to come over the funnel, especially if you got a smaller funnel than this one. So once you've added about 8 quarts, you're gonna stop. Then we're gonna recheck the engine oil level and see where we're at. So the dipstick is right back here. Remove that. Simply pull that out. And then if you look carefully right here, here is the minimum. And that's the maximum right there, that's the minimum. You can see this dipstick, it's not even wet yet. Once you reach here, you are between there and there. It takes about 1 quart to go from the minimum to the maximum. So if you're close to here to the bottom, you can add another half a quart to bring it closer to the high range. But you don't want to overfill it above the maximum right here. So add a little bit more oil, another quart in this case, or about another liter, and then we'll recheck it, and we're going to do that a few times until the level is in the correct range. But that's it. Pretty simple, straightforward. Just for more health questions and details and specs and things of that nature, make sure to see our step-by-step guide. Thank you for watching.